22,000 jobs, underperformed just a bit, but it's still in the positive. Almost 500,000 jobs have been created since the president took office. It's going to take some time.
The implication is that the labor market continues to be pretty slow. Hiring is very slow. Layoffs are still low, but the labor market's softening. And my main takeaway is that this seals the case for the cut in September.
Okay, so what comes next? Let's bring in our panel. Meredith McGraw, White House reporter for the Wall Street Journal. Yemisi Egbawale, former chief of staff and advisor to the Biden White House press office. And Matthew Conateni, scholar at the American Enterprise Institute and columnist for the Free Press. Thank you for joining us. Happy Friday to you. So not a great jobs report. And there was one sliver of, hope out there for folks at home, which is we could see interest rate cuts now because of this. I want to ask you what you think of that, but also the president thinks the real numbers are going to come later this year. That's what he kept talking about today. Listen to him here.
The real numbers that I'm talking about are going to be whatever it is, but will be in a year from now when these monstrous, huge, beautiful places, they're palaces of genius. And when they start opening up, you're seeing I think you'll see job numbers that are going to be absolutely incredible. Right now, it's a lot of construction numbers, but you're going to see job numbers like our country has never seen before.
So, Meredith, what are you hearing at the White House? They're not changing the strategy.
No, not at all. I mean, we heard this morning from NEC Director Kevin Hassett that these jobs numbers were disappointing. But so far, the White House has really shrugged off the numbers. They think that this economy will show signs of improvement, like the president said, a year from now. And they're pointing to things like major investments from other companies and the longer term effects of tariffs and their immigration policy. But we know from what we've heard from economic analysts that these are real warning signs for where the economy might be heading. But still, the president and the White House has used this as a chance to renew their pressure on the Fed to lower interest rates when they meet soon.
Matthew, in a way, this does put the spotlight back on the tariffs, the Trump tariffs, and whether or not that was a good idea, and companies just feeling jittery about it.
I think there's some uncertainty that might be affecting the market, but I also think that when you ask most voters what they really care about, it's not so much jobs, it's affordability, it's costs. And so if I'm looking at the administration, I have some time in the administration to get the economy off of the trough that we might be in terms of the labor market. And I really want to stress the ways in which the Trump administration is lowering prices for Americans and increasing their paycheck, their take-home pay. And that means relying on the taxes, on the deregulation, and on the energy policies. That should be front and center for this administration.
So Yemisi, Chuck Schumer came out and vowed to force a vote on those Trump tariffs, not expected to go anywhere. Of course, he's in the minority. Democrats don't really have a lot of power in this moment other than just to watch what happens with the economy and wait, as the president says, wait to see the results.
Right, not a lot of power, but good that he spoke up. The messaging on this is really important. We know from Fox polling that 38% of Americans approve of the tariffs. And so what the Democrats can do is really push ahead on this. I mean, look, Trump fired a statistician, the BLS commissioner, because he said that he didn't like the numbers. Well, that man is now fired, and the numbers haven't changed. They've only gotten worse. And so I don't think Americans want to wait a year from now to see any improvement. They're talking about everyday costs, and what they want to see is relief now.
Let's talk about the other big story of the week, which was this incredible video of this Venezuelan vessel being bombed. And there's a lot of legal questions here, Matthew. The White House making the case that it has the authority to do this because these cartels are now the same as ISIS or Al-Qaeda. That's how they see them. Here's Senator Mark Wayne Mullen making the argument from Capitol Hill.
The fact of the matter is this was in international water. The boat had been warned to stop. They chose not to. They were clearly running drugs. We had been tracking it since it left Venezuela. And this is what you get. You know, you play stupid games, you have stupid results. And for Venezuela, the message to them is mess around and find out.
What do you think of their argument?
Well, I think the president has the authority under the Constitution to face down threats to the United States. And I think if you ask most Americans, they would say that the threat posed by these cartels is huge. The devastation from drugs and overdoses over the past decade surpasses the death toll in some of our worst wars, our casualty lists. And so I think a lot of people see this president taking decisive action to counter the threat. I heard Nancy Pelosi earlier in the program saying, well, what if he does this, what next? I think most Americans' reply will be, what he'll do next is blow up another drug shipment, and the voters will approve.
I think they warned, right, Venezuelans that that's what they're going to do. President Trump has said that he's not eyeing, he just said that a few moments ago, he's not eyeing a regime change, but Maduro sure thinks so, and that's what he thinks is happening here. And by the way, all of this happening as China is cozying up to India and Russia. Is that a coincidence that we're changing the Department of Defense to Department of War, and we're sort of like putting out this message that we are strong? Don't mess with us.
Well, the White House has said that they're declaring war on these narco traffickers, and they really feel that the policies of the past haven't served them, and that they want to really take decisive action when it comes to blocking drugs and these terrorists from coming in. These terrorists that they called coming into the country. On Inauguration Day, the president signed an executive order naming Tren de Aragua and other drug cartels foreign terrorists. So this is really, I think, sort of a new era in going after these drug cartels. But for the White House, they're clearly trying to send a message to not only the cartels but Maduro as well.
Yeah, Missy, there are Democrats that have come out and opposed this because of the legal argument. They want the president, the administration to come to Capitol Hill and get permission. This always happens. We've seen it over and over again. Ilhan Omar is out there among those Democrats. But Democrats have also complained about law and order here at home. So can they take this political risk to complain about law and order abroad?
This is a tricky situation because drug traffickers are not sympathetic creatures, and also they're trafficking fentanyl, which we know, especially in D.C., is a huge problem. I live in a neighborhood impacted by it. I think it's a very hard thing to push back against the president on this. You can raise some concern about the judicial standpoint here and due process, but overall, these are just not heroes that anybody's going to cry about.
Yeah, they're the cartels.
Yeah.
We don't like them.
I think
we
most
can agree
people
on
will
that.
side with Donald Trump on foreign policy rather than Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.